Animated comedy tomorrow afternoon, one for all the family in the superhero spoof The Incredibles at 3:10. And another Christmas Day treat on BBC One, an all-star cast bring to life a much-loved book, The Gruffalo, tomorrow at 5:30.
Dream of what I need. I need a hero. It's magic.
Never, ever in the history of show business has the phrase "don't milk it, love" been more appropriate.
Remember the fireman who helped cut me out of the house last year?
How could I forget? Took 6.5 hours and a forklift to get you out.
Oh, 1, 2, 3.
It's sinking in. But I think we'll leave it there. I don't want to overload myself on the first day.
A comedy lineup you'll love kicks off tonight from 8 on BBC One.
It's magic.
Join us for a Christmas special when some of our Strictly favourites return to the dance floor.
Yeah, we've got the ravishing Rachel Stevens, the gorgeous Gethin Jones and the amazing Austin Healey.
Plus the top 3 from this series. It should be quite a show.
Yeah, the Strictly Come Dancing Christmas special, 7 o'clock on Christmas Day on BBC One.
Time for a look at the BBC News, now on BBC One with Fiona Bruce.
A landmark bill promising healthcare for all moves a step closer in the United States.
The Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act is passed.
The Senate votes in favour of what President Obama calls the most important piece of social policy since the 30s.
We are now finally poised to deliver on the promise of real, meaningful health insurance reform that will bring additional security and stability to the American people.
Millions of Christmas Eve travellers make their getaway, but queues and black ice hamper journeys. And the Queen's set to pay tribute to Britain's armed forces in her annual Christmas broadcast. Good evening. A landmark bill promising healthcare for some 30 million Americans has been approved by US senators. President Obama described it as the most important piece of social policy since the 1930s. The bill follows months of political wrangling and debate, but it still has to clear some political hurdles before it can be made law. From Washington, our North America editor, Mark Mardell, reports.
Morning, Merry Christmas.
Good morning.
Not for 100 years has the Senate voted on Christmas Eve. Some were bright and cheery in anticipation of a historic vote, despite the early hour.
Let's go!
The oldest senator, who's 92 and not in good health, made sure he was there. And most were packed for a quick getaway, a flight home in time for Christmas. In the past, there have been huge and furious protests against what some see as a costly exercise in big government. It was rather more muted outside the chamber today. Inside, the Republican leader warned his opponents the public will be outraged.
They know there is widespread opposition to this monstrosity. And I want to assure you, Mr. President, this fight isn't over. In fact, this fight is long from over.
As they voted, the tension was punctured as the senator who had led the fight for the bill voted the wrong way. Harry Reid held his head in his hands, but changed his vote and saw victory.
The Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act is passed.
This morning, this vote in the United States Senate lit a candle of hope for 50 million Americans who went to bed last night without the protection of health insurance.
It is good for America, good for the American people, and a true symbol of what we can do if we all pull together.
The Senate bill would cost $871 billion over 10 years, paid partly for by new taxes. It would mean nearly all US citizens would have to take out healthcare insurance. Insurance companies wouldn't be able to drop people if they became sick, but it doesn't include a cheap government scheme, which many Liberals say is vital. The President says he's satisfied.
We can't doom another generation of Americans to soaring costs and eroding coverage and exploding deficits. Instead, we need to do what we were sent here to do and improve the lives of the people we serve.
But do people on the streets welcome it?
I think that it's going to make it better. And if it doesn't make it better, I don't know what's going to happen. There might be another revolution, you know, because it's really bad.
They're kicking the can down the street. and my child and his children are the ones that are going to end up paying the freight for all this silliness.
Merry Christmas, everybody!
The president delayed his family holiday for the vote, but now they've flown off to Hawaii. It's not over yet. This bill has to be squared with another one from the House, so it's all still up in the air.
And Mark joins us now from Washington. Mark, as you just said, there's still a way to go. So how likely is it that this bill is going to become a reality?
Well, there are a fair few people in President Obama's own party who feel this is disappointing, that it doesn't go far enough, particularly that there isn't a really cheap option for people to adopt. So it is possible that they will say, without that, it's not worth having. It is possible they will tinker with the bill in such a way that it'll become unacceptable to the Senate and this carefully brokered deal will fall apart. But I think it's been such a long, hard slog. There'll be an awful lot of pressure on them to swallow it, even if they don't think it's absolutely fantastic. So my hunch is it is all over bar the shouting, but the shouting will be long and very loud.
OK, Mark Mardell, thank you. The soldier from the parachute regiment who was killed in Afghanistan on Tuesday has been named as Lance Corporal Tommy Brown. He was killed by an improvised bomb while on foot patrol in Helmand province. Lance Corporal Brown was described as a dynamic and talented soldier. The campaigner for victims' rights, Sarah Payne, is in a stable condition in hospital following complications after brain surgery. Ms Payne is said to have improved since yesterday when she was in a critical condition. Ms Payne's daughter Sarah was murdered by a paedophile almost a decade ago. Christmas Eve travellers face further disruption to their journeys today as the icy conditions led to more problems on the roads, railways and at airports. Many of the roads are now clear of snow, although there have been several breakdowns and accidents on main routes. Louisa Baldini reports.
In Lincolnshire, icy conditions overnight caused around 40 accidents. Lorries jackknifed and cars overturned. In this case, the driver managed to escape uninjured. But just 250 metres away, a 51-year-old man lost his life after skidding off the icy road and hitting a tree near Woodhall Spa.
It was like a sheet of glass. It made it so treacherous that the police cars couldn't manoeuvre particularly well, and even the fire engines were finding it difficult. It was just appalling conditions. I've never seen. We've been here 3 years, and I've never seen it as bad as that.
The roads are most treacherous in rural areas, like St Asaph in North Wales, where making deliveries proved quite a task today.
Main roads okay, side roads okay if they're flat. If you're going down anything steep, it's just ice and slipping all over the place.
Between midnight last night and 9 a.m. this morning, the AA had attended some 2,500 breakdowns across the UK, double the normal volume.
We're warning motorists not to be complacent because they're seeing that the snow is melting, but on many of the minor roads where they're shaded, you've still got ice, and much of it is black ice, so you can't actually see it.
The AA had anticipated 2 million people taking to their cars today, but because of delayed journeys due to all the bad weather, they raised that estimate to 5 to 6 million. Well, it doesn't look too heavy heading west out of London this evening, but it is expected that tomorrow, Christmas Day, there will be higher than normal levels of traffic. Luton Airport, which was the worst affected of the London airports, was open today, but had to put on double the number of staff to cope with the surge in passengers. And at St Pancras Station in London, which has seen chaos over the past few days, Eurostar is more or less back to its normal levels of operation, though working to a modified timetable. In Scotland, it looks like it may be a white Christmas for the East Coast, but the freezing conditions have caused disruption to rail services. With Glasgow Central Station badly affected, trains on the East Coast Main Line have been starting and terminating at Edinburgh. While the travel situation has generally improved, people should be properly prepared in case things do go wrong. Louisa Baldini, BBC News.
Well, as we were hearing there's been more heavy snow in parts of eastern Scotland today, and last night temperatures dipped to lows of minus 16 Celsius in the Highlands. Well, let's go live to our Scotland correspondent James Cook, who joins us from Glasgow now. James, how's it looking there?
Well, Fiona, ice is the big problem again tonight. As you say, minus 16 degrees Celsius last night for the second night in a row. The temperature's forecast to drop to minus 10 in some parts of Scotland tonight, and in many places it hasn't risen above freezing all day. That has made getting the roads gritted and keeping them clear a challenge, but by and large it's a challenge that's been met by the gritters. 250 tonnes of salt has been spread on the M8, the main motorway between Glasgow and Edinburgh, in the past 24 hours. By and large, that has done the job, although at one point the M8 here in Glasgow had to be closed because icicles were falling from an underpass. As for this evening, what's happening now is the wintry weather is sweeping up the north and east coast. We're hearing that there is heavy snow forecast for this evening, a warning of heavy snow in some parts, and also a warning in many other parts of Scotland of severe ice. The warning is, if you haven't got home for Christmas yet, take a great deal of care on your way there.
OK, James Cook in Glasgow, thank you. Bomb attacks in Iraq have killed at least 26 people and wounded many others. Two near-simultaneous explosions at a crowded bus station in Hilla, south of Baghdad, killed at least 13 people and injured around 70. Later in Baghdad, 13 people were killed by two bombs, one in the Shia neighbourhood of Sadr city and the other targeting Shia pilgrims. The stock market has closed for the Christmas holiday with shares at their highest level since last autumn. The FTSE was up 30 points at 5402, its highest since the collapse of Lehman Brothers 15 months ago, which triggered the start of the global financial crisis. The Queen is set to pay tribute to Britain's armed forces, in particular those serving in Afghanistan, in her annual Christmas broadcast. She'll also urge young people from across the Commonwealth to join together to discuss issues which affect them all, such as the environment. Our royal correspondent Nicholas Witchell has more.
It's the one speech she gives every year in which she's free to talk about what matters to her. And this year, the Queen's Christmas broadcast is expected to concentrate on two subjects which are clearly in her thoughts. Few subjects are as important to the Queen as the well-being of Britain's armed forces and the role of the Commonwealth, and both are expected to feature in this year's broadcast. At the end of a year in which the conflict in Afghanistan has caused more than 100 British deaths, it's thought the Queen will wish to underline her admiration for the work the armed forces are doing there. The Christmas broadcast is a priority for the Queen and her closest advisers. It was recorded at Buckingham Palace earlier this month, and in this 60th anniversary year of the Commonwealth, it contains a special message from the Queen urging the young people of the Commonwealth to join together to debate issues like the environment.
It is important to keep discussing issues that concern us all. There can be no more valuable role for our family of nations.
The Queen's Christmas broadcast will be transmitted at 3 o'clock on Christmas Day. Nicholas Witchell, BBC News at Buckingham Palace.
And you can see the Queen's speech on BBC One at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And that's it for now. There'll be more from the newsroom at 11:30 on BBC One. Now, though, it's time to join our news teams where you are. Bye-bye.
Hello, good evening. The Met Office says that the icy weather that's created treacherous driving conditions across the southwest is due to an unusual series of events. It's caused another day of travel misery for many people in the region, as Spotlight's Heidi Davey reports.
The temperatures plummeted below zero once again last night, causing many roads to turn into sheets of ice. Road gritters had been out across the region, but many motorists still got caught out first thing this morning.
The conditions have been fairly unusual, particularly for this time of year. Now, what would normally happen, the showers coming in from the English Channel would tend to bring milder air, but that hasn't been the case. And the other factor is that the roads have been really very cold. The cold has penetrated deep into the ground. And so although they warm up ever so slightly by day, the sun isn't strong enough at this time of year to create much in the way of warmth. And so those showers have just been falling on sub-zero roads night after night, and that's the reason for the very cold and icy conditions.
Gritters will be sent out on all the main routes this evening and in the early hours of Christmas Day. And the Met Office is warning that widespread frost will hit again tonight. So anyone embarking on a journey, however short, is advised to take extra care. Heidi Davey, BBC Spotlight.
The police hope information from Germany may help explain how a Devon fisherman has been lost at sea. 21-year-old Chris Wadsworth went missing after what's thought to be a collision between the Teignmouth-based Crabber, Étoile des Andes, and another vessel 18 miles off Cherbourg last Sunday.
We have, in the last few days, arranged for the German waterway police to board a 47,000-ton bulk carrier in Hamburg. They've seized the maritime equivalent of a black box, which holds data for the vessel, the course it's travelled, where it's travelled.
One of Cornwall's oldest private schools has called in the administrators. It means more than 350 pupils of Belytho School in Penzance may not be able to go back after the holidays. The school, which employs 150 staff, is still trying to find a buyer, but if it can't, it'll have to close for good. A little boy from Truro who almost died after contracting meningitis is back home after 9 weeks in hospital. 4-year-old Ben Way suffered one of the worst cases of the illness his doctors had ever seen. He was hours from death, but although he still has a lot of treatment to come, he's been allowed home for Christmas.
He was in an induced coma for 5 days. They said that the worst affected area of his body was his legs. He might have lost his legs. Luckily he hasn't. They said he was really critical, but they amazed him, or he amazed them every day by getting so much better.
OK, on to the weather, and here's Helen.
Good evening. If you had hopes of a white Christmas, it's not looking too promising. However, we do have once again a very chilly night with some frost and ice around first thing tomorrow. Here's how it's looking overnight. The showers falling onto sub-zero surfaces, so that's the reason for the ice risk. Just about anywhere we could see some, most likely though for northern parts of the region. So bear that in mind if you are travelling first thing tomorrow morning. The rest of Christmas Day, though, is looking pretty good. Dry and fine, some good spells of winter sunshine, just a small chance of the odd isolated shower. Top temperature tomorrow, around 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. Here's the outlook. The rest of the weekend, fine and dry, more unsettled, though, into next week.
That's it from us. We'll leave you with the girls of St Joseph's School Chamber Choir singing Gloria. From us all on Spotlight, we wish you a very happy and a very peaceful Christmas. Good night.
Hello. Father Christmas may have a weather-resistant form of travel. The rest of us not so lucky. Still looking tricky if you haven't made that Christmas getaway yet, with Met Office severe weather warnings in force for more snow in places and widespread ice. Now, for snow in eastern Scotland, these snow showers giving further accumulations, especially away from the immediate coastline. An area of rain and sleet in eastern England, with some snow in places here. Parts of the east and central Midlands could get a few centimetres. And showers for Wales and the southwest, leaving ice by the morning. May not be the coldest night we've had recently, but still down to -7 in Glasgow, so clearly a cold start in Scotland. This is 9 in the morning. There'll be some freezing fog patches around too, and still some wintry showers near the east coast. Watch out for fog too in northern England and down this eastern side for ice after the wet weather overnight starts to pull away eastwards, but leaving that legacy of ice first thing. Now, further west, you may draw back the curtains and see some morning Christmas sunshine, but don't be fooled. After those showers overnight in the southwest and across Wales, there could well be some ice here on untreated surfaces, so bear that in mind if you're making a morning drive to the relatives. For Northern Ireland, a cold start, some fog in places too. Those temperatures well below freezing. But But as we go on through the day, things will improve. A lot of the fog will thin, the cloud clears, we'll see some sunshine coming through. And by the afternoon, with some sunshine, any snow on the ground, it'll look fairly picturesque. Temperatures edge up a few degrees in the south, but it is going to be another sub-zero day there in Glasgow. And then more problems by the evening as we see this wet weather coming in from the west. A further spell of snow in parts of Northern Ireland, Northern England, southern, and then possibly central Scotland. So more treacherous travelling conditions. And that leaves ice for Boxing Day morning. The day itself, though, milder in the south with rain along the south coast. Some showers in the west, anything wintry mainly over the hills. Been a dramatic year of weather, and Carol Kirkwood looks at it all in the Christmas edition of The Weather Show tomorrow on the BBC News Channel at 12:30. From me, have a lovely evening.
Christmas Eve in the Square. Next on BBC One, Ronnie's in hospital and Peggy's world is falling apart.
Light up your Christmas with the BBC. Go online to find out more.
Never, ever in the history of show business has the phrase "don't milk it, love" been more appropriate.
Remember the fireman who helped cut me out of the house last year?
How could I forget? Took 6.5 hours and a forklift to get you there.
Oh, 1, 2, 3. It's sinking in. But I think we'll leave it there. I don't want to overload myself on the first day.
A comedy lineup you'll love kicks off tonight from 8 on BBC One.
So a rather scary vision of the Harpers at Christmas 2039 in half an hour. Before that on BBC One, last minute tension before the big day.